Welcome to the General's Gentleman.
Uncontrollable snowballing in RTS games is not fun. Nobody enjoys being set back by a small margin and being destined to gradually lose. The mechanics of RTS games, such as resource acquisition and army amassing, naturally lead to snowballing. However, successful RTS franchises tend to put checks on the amount players can snowball. Instead, excessive snowballing is more of a problem that can be found in poorly designed RTS. This essay will discuss how various RTS franchises handle anti-snowballing to help keep the game fun for all players. The intention isn't to negate the benefits of winning, but to reduce it to a more manageable level. Some anti-snowball methods are intrinsic to a game's design and balance, while others are engineered. This distinction can be referred to as anti-snowball mechanics compared to anti-snowball features. The inherent anti-snowball mechanics mostly stem from diminishing returns on the effectiveness of advantages such as army size and economy. Comeback features include army upkeep and retreat. Non-linear power curves of army size advantages reduce the snowball effect. This is often to do with the level of attention required to utilize units. 2 Sherman tanks in Company of Heroes are not twice as effective as 1 because tanks require so much precision of movement to avoid being caught by enemy anti-tank guns. While 2 are obviously better than 1, it is with diminishing returns. Likewise, utilizing heroes and spellcasters in Warcraft 3 require so much actions per minute. This effect is more subtle in StarCraft 2. Stalkers have a large model size relative to their attack range, lowering the damage output of a blob of stalkers unless they concave. Terran mirrors are not decided by which marine blob is larger, but by which player can get their siege tanks in the best position. Diminishing returns of army sizes can be caused by attention needed to control units, inherent penalties of a unit being amassed, or having strong counters. The best implementation of economic progression creates vulnerabilities in the winning player. As a StarCraft player gains more bases over their opponent, they will have more territory to defend. They will be vulnerable to harassment, as their forces will either be spread thin or have gaps in defenses. The maximum base saturation of minerals and Vespene gas is crucial because it forces players to expand onto the map. Command & Conquer 3 has no hard saturation limits per base, but oversaturating harvesters causes diminishing returns as the Tiberium fields rapidly deplete. Regardless of how it's implemented, economic progression should be vulnerable to the enemy and capable of being reset. This can take the form of weak worker units or territory points that can be captured. I'm not a fan of how Dawn of War 1 does its economy. Listening posts are tough and well armed, while power generators are safe in the base, and both resources have permanent global upgrades. It's not surprising that Dawn of War 1 can suffer from the snowball effect. Command & Conquer generals can have the same problem in the late game, with resource generating structures like black markets being built safely in the main base. Ashes of the Singularity also suffers from its region-specific upgrades like amplifiers and orbital abilities that are impossible to destroy or remove. The losing player should always have the potential to strike back a deadly blow at their opponent. Maximum army sizes also reduce snowballing. A maximum population limit puts a hard cap on how big a player's army can grow, forcing them to attack before they lose the advantage. The defending player will typically benefit in positioning and trade better, often counteracting the army size disparity. The slow build speeds of StarCraft necessitate building excess production structures to rapidly replace lost units, reducing the advantage of having a large resource bank. Population buildings like supply depots or houses also help anti-snowball. The loser of a fight can immediately replace their lost army, but the victor has to construct additional pylons before further growing their forces or workers. Seemingly unrelated mechanics like selling structures can also have a role in anti-snowball. If you're about to lose a forward base in Command & Conquer, you can sell off structures to receive a 50% refund and lessen the setback. As one team gains the majority of map control in Company of Heroes, their opponents will have shorter distances to reinforce from the base and return to the front lines. These anti-snowball mechanics are inherent because they're just a part of the game and weren't designed with anti-snowballing in mind. However, some features are designed to explicitly address snowballing. Most notable is upkeep in games like Company of Heroes, where players gain less income as their forces grow. Resource upkeep passively helps the players with smaller armies catch up. Also in Company of Heroes is the retreat mechanic, which means players can lose battles without having their forces annihilated. As a result, battle outcomes mostly determine territory shifts, and the loser can quickly regroup and counterattack. Company of Heroes has many strong anti-snowball mechanics and features which are necessary to balance out its pro-snowball mechanics. Units gain veterancy from combat, acquiring bonuses to stats or unlocking new abilities. In essence, veterancy gives further bonuses to the player who is already winning. This may sound problematic, but it's worth it because veterancy is such a gratifying feature. Tanks in Company of Heroes also tend to snowball players, because regular units have no anti-tank damage. Snowball mechanics are not a bad thing because they can be really fun to benefit from. However, the more snowball mechanics an RTS has, the more it needs to be offset by anti-snowball mechanics or features. Anti-snowball features should be subtle so that the winning player does not feel they are being punished. Players in Company of Heroes are not thinking about upkeep or drain, it just passively happens in the background. Compare this to Warcraft 3, where upkeep hits sudden, sharp thresholds. Warcraft 3 enthusiasts may be upset with me here, but personally I don't like this system because it feels punishing. On the one hand, the thresholds add strategic depth, because you may choose to maximize income by staying below the threshold. On the other hand, it discourages you from the fun act of growing your army, and its sudden alerts can create a fear of missing out. Well-designed anti-snowball features might punish the player for having an advantage, but it shouldn't communicate it so blatantly. Mechanics creating a defender's advantage prevents tiny gains in the early game from suddenly being game-ending. All RTS have some inherent defender's advantage due to reinforcement timings, but often more are required. Hypothetically, in StarCraft, a rush of 5 Marines against a defending player with 3 Marines will not end a game. This is because the defender has the high ground advantage in their base, and they could also pull workers from the mineral lines to engage. However, as the game draws out, the 2 Marine advantage becomes negligible when comparing 52 Marines to 50. Command & Conquer 3 has a different defender's advantage with repair drones on war factories. Defender's advantages should scale off past the early game so that it doesn't prevent one player from ending the game when they clearly have won. The speed of Command & Conquer 3's repair drones and the damage of SCVs in StarCraft become insignificant in mid-game fights. Meanwhile, StarCraft 2's high ground advantage is negated by having vision. Multiple victory conditions presents comeback opportunities. Being able to win in Company of Heroes through victory points means the toughest army does not always come out on top. Being able to take and hold regions on the map tends to require a different army composition than one designed for an upfront fight. It also means one player might have an advantage in army size, but still has to remain vigilant because they have a disadvantage in victory points. The elegance of victory points in Company of Heroes is how territory capture interacts with mechanics such as suppression and smoke shells. Command & Conquer Rivals has even more comeback potential in its missile victory condition. The losing player need only steal the launch pads at a crucial moment to redirect its launch destination. In summary, RTS gameplay of gaining resources and growing armies inherently contains snowballing. As a result, RTS games need to implement anti-snowball mechanics and features, whether they be a natural consequence of its design or deliberately engineered. Successful RTS players should gain advantages, but the effects should be minimized to prevent snowballing out of control. Many RTS games have diminishing returns of larger armies due to the required precision of control. Army size scaling is also limited by stats, such as attack range and having strong counters. Economic progression should require expanding out onto the map, creating vulnerabilities to harass. The methods of gaining resources should be at risk of being destroyed or reset, such as weak worker units rather than global upgrades. Population limits and other various features like selling buildings can all contribute to slowing down the rate of snowballing. Engineered anti-snowball features like upkeep may be necessary if a game contains pro-snowballing mechanics such as veterancy. Good anti-snowball design should be subtle and not make players consciously feel punished for winning. Creating some kind of defender's advantage prevents early leads from being game-ending, but should scale off into the mid-game. Ultimately, it's not fun when small errors gradually and inevitably cause a loss. Thank you for watching. My name is Callum McCall of the General's Gentlemen. I've done a whole series on RTS design, so if you like this video, then check out the playlist. I've also just launched my website, callummccall.com. It's pretty basic, it's mostly just a WordPress preset, but it does a very nice job of consolidating all of my RTS writings that I've done over the years, these essays and reviews for various games. So check that one out if you want to see all the stuff that I've written. Other than that, thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.